Hey everyone, this is Joe Hennes from ToughPigs.com.
And this is Jarrod from MuppetMindset.com.
Look at that, and we're here on a Google Hangout across the entire world. Look at that. I'm in New York, and where are you?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Man, we're both in the future on a video chat like the Jetsons.
It's impressive. I'm even more in the future because for you it's what 12:30 at night, and for me it's 4:30 in the afternoon.
That's true. That's true. And the dates for both of us right now is November 23rd, 2016, which means today is the 5th anniversary of the 2011 Muppet movie with Jason Segel, which is pretty exciting.
It's very exciting. I can't believe it's been 5 years already.
It's weird. It's super weird. Like it makes me feel old.
It does, but when you think about how much has happened in that 5 years, we've had another movie and a TV show.
Yeah, yeah, all those things that nobody watched but us. It's pretty great.
That's sadly accurate.
Yeah. So the thing that we decided to do, rather than just get on here and talk about the movie, which we could easily do, and we've done so much over the past 5 years, we got our hands on a very early version of the script to the Muppets. Yeah, see, Jarrod and I both have our copies here.
That's all right.
Oh, yours still has the cover page. I wrote all over mine.
It's still called, at this point, the greatest Muppet movie of all time.
That's right, and it could have been. It could have been. I wonder if they changed it because they were like, guys, I know Muppets Take Manhattan. You are no Muppets Take Manhattan.
I think they changed it purely because, can you imagine if the movie had not gone well? The reviews would have been like, the worst Muppet movie of all time, and then it would have just been like when people say Saturday Night Dead instead of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that's they obviously were thinking of the critics when they made all their choices.
They must have been.
So we're going to assume that everyone watching this is seen and is very familiar with that movie because we're going to be talking about some spoilers. But we're going to go through a lot of this thing and see what kind of similarities there were and what kind of differences there were. Jarrod, do you want to start?
I guess first, I was amazed at just not only how similar the film is, but just how wildly different it is. Because there's some things in there that line for line are still in the actual film. And I mean, this is one of the earliest scripts I think they did. And then there's, like, we'll get to it, but there are plot lines and like a twist about halfway through that just threw me the first time I read through it. So I'm very interested to see how they got from this to what we actually saw in 2011.
Right. Yeah, I have to assume that when they sat down with those Pixar writers and they kind of helped them hammer out the script, early on, this is what they were working off of. I have to assume. I honestly don't know. Also, the scripts that we have here in our hands, there's no date on these, so we're really kind of lost until Jason Segel calls us up and tells us what's what.
We are. I've got another script that's later than this one that I think is from early 2009.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
I have that one as well, and that's definitely somewhere between this one and the final script. This one is definitely earlier. So before we talk about that big twist, because we're definitely going to have to have words about that, I want to talk about Walter, because this thing really starts with Walter. Walter is the heart of the movie, and he is wildly different from what we end up getting.
Extremely. He's a puppet.
He's a puppet, and that's weird. And I feel like this is something that like probably several someones had raised a flag to say, we can't say puppet. We can't acknowledge that Muppets are puppets, and they do that through the entire script, especially with Walter here.
And there's a film. I'm not film. Sorry, there's a song called "I'm Your Puppet."
Right. Well, they're covering a classic song, "I'm Your Puppets," in the movie, but like they are deliberately referencing the fact that he is a puppet, and in fact he starts out as Gary's ventriloquist dummy, or at least he's pretending to be a ventriloquist dummy, and they're scamming people and getting tips and stuff. But it's weird because they call him a puppet, they call him a ventriloquist dummy, but the way he's described in the script and by other characters is that he's more like a brown rag
He gets
thing.
called a brown rag. He gets called a what is it, like a, not a mongoose, like a I have the script. Let's find out for sure. He gets called like just a dirty towel, just terrible things by everybody.
And I wonder what they were thinking he would look like that would differentiate him from, a Muppet, because Muppets exist in this universe.
A prairie dog and a brown bird without wings. There we go. That's in the beginning.
Yeah, that sounds right. And somehow he evolved from that to this.
There he is. Look at that little fella.
The Walter.
Also, I know I said this to you at least a couple of days ago, and I apologize for the language I'm going to use. Walter's a bit of a dick.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's not a nice guy. I'm not saying not a nice guy, but he's just kind of whiny. Quite sort of just not an overly nice person.
No,
Muppet.
and I think that he seems like he wants to be a Muppet from the get-go, which isn't, seems fairly obvious. But in the final movie, they obviously figured it out that it's not that he wants to be a Muppet. He's a Muppet fan. And now suddenly, all of his weird quirks are because he's, one of us and we have weird quirks, and not just that, he's some sort of prairie dog rag. I don't really know what his motivation is, actually, now I'm saying this out loud.
He just sort of, the whole shtick is that he doesn't like that he can't reveal himself as to be real, isn't it? Or is it Gary who wants to reveal that Walter's real?
Yeah, Walter, I don't know. Who cares?
One of them want to reveal that the other one, that Walter's real, but one of them is not.
Despite the fact that this is a universe in which Muppets are real and they have their own TV shows and movies and are walking down the street and whatever.
But they're puppets in this script.
As they keep reminding us, they are puppets. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so, are we going to continue in order, or are we just going to skip around this script?
Well, we can skip around because I think it's important to talk about this big twist, maybe.
We'll stay on Walter. He doesn't whistle in this.
No, in fact, his big secret at the end is that he dances. There's no other Muppet that can dance.
No, not at all. No, there's never been any sort of, sketch about puppets dancing.
No, nothing about like Kermit having happy feet. Or like a whole cast of a whole species called the Danceros. Yeah.
No, that doesn't exist in this universe.
No. So that didn't work so well. But yeah, that just goes along with Walter being awful. Oh, there's also a whole thing where he and I guess this could have been an interesting thing for him if he did look like a blanket. There's a bit where, he can go limp and he can look like he, becomes a dead Muppet and, becomes like a pile of rags. At one point he gets himself wet and he sticks to the side of something.
Oh, that's the him sneaking into the Muppet Studios.
Right.
There's a whole sequence in the script of him sort of sneaking in somewhere, and I thought to myself, that's really similar to the scene in Muppets Most Wanted when he's following Ricky Gervais.
Yes, that's true. Except for the fact that the Walter that we end up this Walter, like, he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a guy who walks around. And he whistles, but he doesn't whistle in that scene.
Whistle, doesn't dance. I just thought it was obviously Nick Stoller was a pretty big fan of the idea of Walter sneaking around, because he brought into this movie and didn't get in, so he brought into the next movie instead. And there's a couple of things that that Muppets Most Wanted had that this script has. For example, Together Again.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. It definitely seemed like they wanted to well, in the final version of the movie, they made a lot of references to the old movies, which honestly, as I'm thinking of it right now, the appearance of Together Again might be the only thing that survived. Or I'm sorry, that was actually a reference to the old movies. There's
Yes.
no mention of like, oh, and didn't you see our last movie, We Drive? And there's no Sweetums, running from Madman Moonies and that kind of thing. Even though they're still constantly referencing that the Muppets used to be a theater troupe, or they used to have their own TV show. The Muppet Show still exists in this universe. Speaking of which, so they actually go into the reasoning why the Muppets split in this script, and it's a little bit different than the movie that we end up getting. It was not about Kermit and Piggy and the paparazzi and the wedding, and like that whole thing was not in the script at all. Instead, Kermit, it seems like Piggy got a job offer in France, and she wanted to go, and he said no, he did not want to go as well, and that split the two of them up. And then there's actually a kind of a cute scene where different duos each kind of have dagger eyes at each other, and then there's a flashback to see why they're arguing. So let's see if I can find my note here. Fozzie was telling a bad joke, and Rolf had to play him off stage.
Play him off because otherwise Sweetums was going to hook him.
Right, exactly. There was a bit where the Swedish chef was going to cook Camilla, so he and Gonzo don't get along so well. And then it's revealed that Kermit is the one who sent an animal to rehab. So the Electric Mayhem is mad at Kermit.
You know what? I probably skipped right over that. I didn't even notice that.
It was a blip. It was one line. It was going to be like, I think it was going to be like quick scenes for that one. But still, okay. Speaking of which, we also got to see a little bit more of where everyone was after they split. So the list I got here is Fozzie is being roasted at Caesar's Palace. Nothing about the Muppets in Las Vegas and all that. I'm sorry, Reno. And then there's a cute thing where one of the comedians is swearing a lot during the roast, and she's being bleeped out, and then it's revealed that Beaker is the one who's bleeping him with his, meeping. Swedish Chef is his own. Sorry, what?
So yeah, you have Swedish Chef as sort of a Gordon Ramsay type of thing, and there's a great line of him up in a contestant's face. So like yelling and swearing at this poor contestant, and then just breaking down into tears.
Yes,
and I kind of wish they kept in because I thought that was a pretty funny little sequence.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Rolf is working at a cat-run Kinko's. It's like a Kinko's run completely by cats, and I guess he's wearing a cat costume. So that seemed odd. I like what they did with him in the movie in the end with him in the hammock. I think that was funnier.
Much funnier. Yeah. And then we also get, as in the film, Animal at anger management, except Jack Black's nowhere to be seen. Instead, we have Sean Penn and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, which would have been hysterical.
It would have been fantastic.
Oh, and then we would have gotten the Electric Mayhem playing at an empty bar, apparently somewhere in the tundra, which explains why the bar is empty. And Gonzo is playing superhero, which we got a glimpse of in the final movie, but nothing about being a plumbing magnate. And there was going to be a cameo by Christian Bale in his Batman costume, which is pretty ballsy of Jason Segel to put that in a Disney script.
The one thing I noticed about that was Gonzo's description, which was Gonzo has a pot belly and grey hair.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know how they're going to.
Sorry, they said Fozzie had a bald spot as well, which I don't know how that would even look.
I'm not upset they got rid of that. I don't like the idea of my Muppets looking old and gross.
No, I agree. Although they would have had a bit where Kermit, when we first see him at his manor, pulling a Willy Wonka, where he looks really old, he's walking with the cane, and then he does a somersault, and he's fine.
And I have that written down here with the line, "I wish they kept that in," because I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been really fun. So you had mentioned the Sean Penn and Alec Baldwin cameos. I do want to also mention the other celebrities that were supposed to be that are written in the script that were supposed to show up at the end during the telethon. We're totally jumping around in the plot here. Who cares? So Jack Black is in the script. As you know, in a similar role, he's kidnapped, he's tied up, he's the host of the show. But then George Clooney is supposed to be there, where he sees Jack Black is killing it on this show, and he's like, well, I got to be a part of this. So when Clooney shows up, all the other celebrities show up. And here's the list that I wrote down. This is really, really, I don't know what the word is, ambitious of Jason Segel and Nick Stoller. So we've got Mel Brooks, Steve Carell, Ben Stiller, Sarah Jessica Parker, Jon Favreau, Vince Vaughn, Matt Damon, Charles Grodin, Chris Rock, Martin Short, John Mayer, Norah Jones, Harrison Ford, Bruce Springsteen, Bill Hader, Jay Leno, and Rachel Ray. There's some big names in there.
There's some giant names in there. I really liked the Bill Hader line. He only gets one line in the whole thing, but it just made me laugh. It's I think it's saying they're putting on some hack comedian, and Bill Hader's standing there and goes, "Oh, gee, thanks for that." And that's all. That's the only line he gets in the whole thing.
Yeah, that's appropriate. I also like that they were going to give Matt Damon. Gonzo was going to try to chase him down, and they were going to do a whole Born Identity homage where they're jumping on rooftops and stuff. That would have been really fun to see Gonzo do. Probably wasn't in the budget.
And that's it. Charles Grodin's cameo. That was something that I know was talked about a lot in the sort of Muppet fan world when that was sort of mentioned that could happen. I'm really upset that didn't happen. I thought that would have been a nice little touch just to have Charles Grodin as Nicky Holiday sitting in a jail cell 30-odd years later.
I would have loved that. I think that would have been fantastic. And honestly, like, I'm surprised. From what I understand, you know, I think he may have regretted not doing it because he wrote some article soon after the movie came out explaining, like, telling the story about how when he met Miss Piggy and she was flirting with him, and I don't remember the rest of it. It was very funny. But I remember thinking, like he should have shown up in the Gulag in Muppets Most Wanted.
I didn't even think of the Gulag. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I'm just going to quickly throw out a fan theory about Muppet Most Wanted.
Yeah, please do.
Ray Liotta. I reckon his character was the same as his character in Muppets from Space, and he was sent to the Gulag for allowing the Muppets in to save Gonzo.
Yeah, I love that theory. I thought of the same thing. And I also think. So, what do you think? Why do you think Steve Whitmire was in there?
Tax fraud.
Yeah, probably. That's something you get sent to a Siberian Gulag for.
Yeah. Speaking of cameo,
yeah,
there's one that's not in the script, but it was mentioned. They had originally wanted Elmo to make it a cameo.
I had heard that. Was that in the script? You said it wasn't.
It wasn't in the script. No, but I was looking at sort of some information today while I was meant to be working, and apparently they went to him to host the show. There's a whole one of the parts in the script is obviously them going to all the celebrities to ask they would host, and at one point then apparently we're going to go to Elmo, but then the lawyers were going to say, oh no, Elmo can't host. And then in real life, the lawyers went, nope, Elmo can't be in it. So it was just art imitating life.
Well,
but I thought it would have been.
From the story that I heard, so I don't know what's actually true, is that Elmo was supposed to be in the Pepe role, where Miss Piggy was going to reveal that, well, if Kermit's not going to be in this duet with her, then here's my dance partner. In the movie we saw was Pepe. It was going to be a huge reveal that it was Elmo. I don't know which of these stories is true now. That's one I just assumed was correct.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that scene is written a little bit differently in the script, but it's not Elmo, it's not Pepe, it's actually Gary. And there's this weird subplot where Piggy is kind of pretending to flirt with him now, and then Mary is jealous, and Gary is trying half-heartedly to explain things, and she doesn't believe him, and Kermit's jealous, and it just kind of peters out. It's not a very good subplot. I'm glad they ditched that.
And also just made me a little bit uncomfortable the whole time. I sort of went, I don't understand. No one's committed to this subplot really enough. It's all literally just one of those kind of cliche misunderstandings.
Yep.
I think they did well to get away with it. Sorry, to get rid of it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So let's see, what else is worth mentioning? Let's see. We talked about Piggy and Gary. Well, I guess let's take this opportunity to talk about the huge twist, right?
Well, if I can, before I get to the twist, talk about Okie Welchgent.
Oh, you want to talk about Okie Welchgent first before the twist?
All right, no, let's talk about the twist. I'll let you make the review.
Okay. Yeah, well, it all goes together. But everyone listening to this is so confused right now. So Tex Richman is a little bit sketchier in this script, and it is revealed maybe about 3/4 of the way through the movie that he is not Tex Richman, and he is in fact Kermit the Frog in a Tex Richman suit. Wait, here's the thing. I can tell already. You hate this, but I love it.
I hate it with a passion. I'm trying to find the script because I was marking things down as I was reading it. And I don't know if you can see that, but above that I've written, huh? Like, what? So we hear the sound of a zipper from within Tex's body, and slowly the Tex Richman human suit falls to the ground, revealing Kermit. Huh? Nah, no thanks.
Okay, wait, but I want you to explain why you dislike it, because I want to explain to you why I think it's brilliant. But you go ahead.
Okay, I think it's strange that Kermit went to that much effort. So the idea is that Kermit's done it to get everybody together, and then it's backfired on him, which we'll talk about soon. It seems like it would have just been a bit of a cheap plot twist. I don't know that it would have paid off. I think it would have looked strange. It would have cheapened the character of Tex Richman.
I kind of agree with that last part, but the thing that I love about it, there's a few things I love about it. One is that it gives Kermit a little bit of an edge. It makes Kermit like he's kind of crafty, and he's willing to do some like shady stuff to get what he wants within reason. And I think a big complaint from the movie that we ended up getting is that Kermit was very milquetoast. He was very bland. He was very sad. And I think this is something that would have done away with all of that, because Kermit is acting like he's actually trying to get something done. And that thing that he's trying to get done is something that I think there's a lot of precedence for, and that's to get all of his friends back together. Like it is a whole plot. And it's a little bit out of character, I'll admit, but not so much that it doesn't make sense. Muppets Take Manhattan, like half the movie, he's putting on costumes, pretending to be someone else, just trying to sell this show. Like, why wouldn't he do the same thing here? I just think that it's a fun idea. But then the crazy thing about it is that Tex Richman. So obviously, assume that Tex Richman, he's really Kermit the Frog. Obviously, he's lying about the oil. There's no oil under the Muppet Theater.
Mm-hmm.
So the conflict that they introduced, and this is the part that didn't really work for me, is that they introduced an actual oil baron. What was his name? Okie. What was it? Okie Welchgent. Okie Welchgent. That's hard to say. So now he's like, well, there's obviously like this Tex Richman guy thinks that there's oil under the Muppet Theater, so there must be oil under the Muppet Theater, and so now he becomes the antagonist, and he's introduced 20 minutes before the movie's over, so that didn't work so well, I think.
No, I don't know how true this is. This is just on IMDb. I don't know if it's true. Apparently, Steve Whitmire hated the Tex Richman being Kermit thing so much. I don't know if he threatened to have his name taken off the film. But he basically made it very clear that he didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know about, I can't speak to Steve Whitmire, but I did hear that a lot of people inside, like a lot of insiders hated that twist. The main reason being that Kermit doesn't lie, or it's too dishonest for Kermit. And I kind of understand that. I don't like the idea that Kermit can't lie, because he has lied. He's lied many times before. And, you know, if we're making a rule like that, we're going to end up with a bland Kermit in the end. We're going to Mickey Mouse him. And, you know, I have to admit, like, you know, if it was Steve Whitmire who you know, had strong feelings about that, there's no one who knows the character better than him. So, like, I would defer, obviously, to Steve Whitmire. I still think it's a great twist. I still think nobody would have seen it coming. It would have gone down as like an M. Night Shyamalan style, like greatest twists of all time. Kermit was the bad guy. Who would have thought?
Look, like I said, you're right. I didn't see it coming, as you can tell by my big bold letters there when I finally saw that part. But I'm glad they didn't do it. I don't think it would have paid off.
Well, we ended up getting a great rap song from Chris Cooper, so I think that was worth it.
So now, shall we talk about Okie Welchent?
Yeah, what do you want to say about Okie Welchent? He's kind of a nothing character.
I have a nothing character, but it's interesting because it has a little sidekick named Blackwort, who turns to be a Muppet and turns out to sort of, I guess not join them, but sort of help them out in the end, which was, of course, a role that was filled by Uncle Deadly.
Right, and I had heard that when James Bobin joined on, because he knows the characters pretty well, that was he was able to say, you know, throughout the whole movie, like, oh, we can use this character there, we can grab that old character and put them in here. I don't know which ones he did, but this seems like a perfect opportunity that he would have said, we don't need to create a new character, let's use Uncle Deadly. And it works so much better with Uncle Deadly because I'm picturing this random warthog in my head, and like I couldn't care less. He could be a good guy, bad guy, whatever. But Uncle Deadly, you're already rooting for because he's classic.
That's it. And Bobo's nowhere to be seen either, so he obviously just got slotted in at some point.
Yes, true. But yeah. Oh, and then there was an interesting thing. What did I write down about Okie? So there, he has like a whole series of things that he's trying to do to shut down the show. It turns out that he owns the network, so he has the network, like has the camera guys like walk out, and then the TV executive, which would end up being played by Rashida Jones, kind of steps up and you know, takes a bit more of a stance rather than just kind of like nodding in the audience like she ended up doing in the movie. And then, you know, he has a whole thing, like he has a, oh, this is a great scene. I'm actually a little disappointed they didn't keep this in there. So at one point he kind of loses it. He pulls out a rifle and he is going to shoot. Actually, I don't know what he's going to shoot. Is he going to shoot the Muppets or is he going to shoot the teleprompter?
I think he's just going to shoot a Muppet. I have it written down that he was threatening to shoot one of the Muppets.
Okay, well, let's go with that. So he's going to shoot one of the Muppets. And then it's previously established earlier that Bunsen and Beaker have a machine that slows down time, and Gonzo's using it to for his bowling ball trick. And so he fires the rifle, and they go into slow-mo time, and the bullet becomes a Muppet bullet. And I'm picturing like a you could see the rod, and the bullet has a face on it as it's slowly moving, and all the Muppets are slow-mo moving out of the way. But deliberately, like, they're not really in slow motion. They're just moving slowly. And then, hilariously, Fozzie walks in, not realizing everyone else is in slow-mo. And then he has to, I didn't realize we're doing that. And then he has to start moving in slow motion, too. I thought that was a really funny bit.
It was a funny bit. I have written down saying I wish they kept that in. I also liked that the bullet was blocked by Gonzo's bowling ball. He finally lets it go. It blocks the bullet, which is a nice payoff considering the real film, where the payoff was in the credits.
Yeah, there was a lot of problems with that. We're going to have another video chat about the problems of the movie and not just the problems of the script. That is a whole nother thing, Jarrod.
Whole other thing. Talking about sort of things they wish they kept, is there anything else you've seen that you thought, I wish that was in the film?
Let's see. Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I had a couple. One of mine was where is it? So there's Kermit talking about when he's going to sort of open the show, and the characters say, "Well, why do you always get to open the show?" Kermit says, "I'm the only one who can fit in the letter O." And then there's a montage of the characters trying to fit in the letter O, and Fozzie gets stuck. Miss Piggy is just hanging on for dear life, screaming, and Sweetums, you can only ever see his legs.
Yeah, I like that. No, that's a funny bit. I didn't write that down, but I agree. One thing, I don't know if I'd say that I wish they kept this in, but it would have been interesting and, again, very ambitious of Jason Segel and Nick Stoller. The script ends with Kermit announcing the return of the Muppet Show. He says, "That's it. We're bringing the Muppet Show back." And I could see some Disney executive reading that and saying, "Nice try."
That's exactly right. It was. I give him props for it. It was well worth the shot. I feel like they put that in and went, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. That's how TV shows are made. Yeah, that would have been fun. Let's see. Okay, what else? What do we miss here? I'm going back through my notes to see what's important. There was a whole thing that I didn't care for where Walter has a catchphrase. When he gets nervous, he says "peanut," and maybe I couldn't wrap my brain around that. That was just incredibly stupid. That sounded dumb.
Okay, so that didn't bother me much.
Yeah, that was
I thought that was a little bit endearing, considering I thought he was kind of a dick the whole time. That was sort of endearing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Here's something that I'm so glad that they cut. Apparently, there was a montage of all the times Kermit had to pee, because there's a reference in there that Kermit has to, like, he's got a small bladder, and he's like, "Don't you know this about me?" And then there's a montage of all these times that Kermit had to use the bathroom, and like, I don't want to think about Kermit peeing, because now I'm thinking, does he stand or sit? And that's just disturbing. And I'm just very grateful that one didn't make it to the movie.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that is on my list of things I wish they kept. I thought that was
really
funny. Yeah. Just the idea, there was him in an airport, there was him at the theater. I just thought that was a funny little thing.
Yeah,
Another montage was all the times Kermit and Fozzie have tried to get back into contact with each other.
Oh yeah, that was good.
And literally doing it at the exact millisecond the other one's trying to do it. So the phone's dead. Kermit at one point rings a doorbell as Fozzie fires off an air horn.
Yeah, I like that they got progressively more and more bizarre. That worked very well.
Yeah, that would have been. I would have liked to have seen that sort of while they were in that alleyway in Reno.
So this is not really anything important. I found it amusing that the script revealed the last names of Mary and Gary. Did you notice this?
Yeah, but now I can't remember what they are. It's
a good thing. It's a good thing I wrote them down.
Good.
Mary's last name is Greggs, Greggs, and Gary's last name is Stevens, Gary Stevens. So I wondered what the references is there, but I have no idea.
I have no idea, but we're all richer for knowing that information.
Aren't we? Can someone update the Muppet Wiki right now with that information?
Does that mean Walter's last name would be Stevens? I never understood if him and Gary were related or friends.
Well, yeah, no. In the movie, they're brothers. In the movie, they make it very clear they're brothers, and they don't bother to explain why one of them's human, one of them's Muppet. But in this script, they just kind of seem to know each other. Like, I don't think they're brothers. I don't think they make that.
No, it's a start where it's sort of a montage about the fact that they've sort of Walter's been around since he was a kid, since Gary was a kid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if he was given or something.
I'm looking to see if I can find something, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have time at the moment, but Yeah, I don't see
One
anything.
thing talking about cameos. So talking about cameos,
Yeah.
the Emily Blunt cameo was written for her and Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
What sort of
Yeah, and I like that she still made it into the movie, Emily Blunt.
She did, but what sort of made me write this down was the fact that both of them are listed in this script as being there, but Emily Blunt doesn't have any lines whatsoever.
Yeah, she's got a line. Oh, you mean in the script?
In the script.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true. That would have been a horrible waste of Emily Blunt.
Karl Lagerfeld, is that his name? I don't know. I'm not fashionable.
So I wrote down a couple of scenes that were almost line for line exactly the way they were in the movie. Like the whole electric fence, throw me again. Like that thing is almost word for word exactly the way it is in the script, and they just kept it for the movie. Same with Regis beforehand, the whole thing with the hot dogs. Got a great idea, and then they're eating hot dogs in the car. The Emily Blunt cameo you mentioned, the standard rich and famous contract at the beginning, when they're meeting with all the different TV executives and they're saying no, 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 and then there's the Univision one that they're speaking Spanish. The Muppets get excited, and no, that's Spanish for no. I think like even Kermit's like big speech to try to convince the TV executive, pretty spot on. Kidnapping of Jack Black, which we already mentioned, and then I noticed this must have been something that Jason Segel really wanted to do, but he really wanted to end this movie with Mana Mana, and it was in the script. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I don't think it ends with the proposal. Yeah, no. Gary does not propose to marry. What was that?
They go to take a big group photo.
Oh, right, because there's this plot point earlier on that one of the reasons that the Muppets are all mad at Kermit is because there was this magazine article of who's the best Muppet or something like that, and it's a picture of all the Muppets and Kermit's up front with his hand up in the air.
And which goes back to the fact that he was actually going up to say, I need to use the bathroom, which leads into the whole him having to, have a small bladder.
Right. So the movie ends with the Muppets taking a big photo, which is kind of weak, I think. Although I guess that would have been better if they were taking the photo to announce the new Muppet Show.
Nice try.
Nice try, Jason Segel and Nick Stoller.
Nice try. All right, let's see. I've just got a couple of tiny little things. Oh, no, now there's one really strange sequence, which is, again, it's about Together Again, and it's when they're on the plane.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the whole plane sequence.
The whole plane sequence where they're coming back from France after they've convinced Miss Piggy to come over. She had said yes. She goes, yep, I'll come back, rather than in the film when she just turns up a couple of days later. And they all just start arguing because of all their various different conflicts that they've had. And so in order to sort of get them, friendly again, I think it's Kermit starts singing Together Again.
No, I believe it's Walter.
Okay. All right. Well, I was going to say, someone starts singing Together Again, and then the whole plane just sort of goes into a big musical number, which is Together Again. And it was just that's the first time you see Piggy with a weird little subplot of with Gary, and so the whole scene's just a little bit strange and unnecessary.
Yeah, I think they wanted it to be like Almost Famous when they're singing Tiny Dancer. That didn't work so well. I did find it interesting, not necessarily good, but that's where they introduced Sam the Eagle as Kermit's personal pilot. So Sam is flying the plane, and there's one funny joke where he asks them all to stand for the national anthem, and then they take off and they're all standing in their seats, and I'm sure they go flying. But yeah. Oh, and then because of that, there's no road trip. to the movie. So it's Kermit instead has like a panic button, and when he hits the button, they all have watches that make little signals go off, so they all know it's time to come back and do a show, which is kind of a buff as well. But they do nap joke when they're in the plane going to Paris, and they're saying, "God, this flight's gonna take forever." Oh, let's just travel by map. But it's funnier in the car when they drive up on the beach and they have to roll down the window and get air. So glad they got rid of the plane.
Glad they got rid of it. Yeah, it was a strange little thing. All right. Look, I think we've pretty much gone through everything. My only other couple of things were, Pepper gets one line and says "okay" twice in it. Ode to Joy. Beacon's video "Ode to Joy" is implied to be a video Beacon made on his own and uploaded to the Muppet channel by himself.
I guess so.
When he gets called out for it, he just sort of backs away without anyone sort of knowing that he's leaving. Now Gonzo has a line in this which I'm really glad they got rid of because it was really dark, which is him when he's got his bowling ball, and he says, "I don't want to kill someone again."
Yeah, Gonzo's straight up a murderer in this thing.
Yeah, I just went, "Oh no, that I can imagine someone at Disney going, "Oh, this is fun. Oh, look, they can't do that." Then reading that line and going, big cross out. No, we're not having that.
Yeah.
It was just horrible.
And then the only other thing I have written down that I didn't mention, when they're when we're watching Tex Richman do mysterious things before it's revealed that it's Kermit, they kind of drop a few hints that this was my second time reading the script, so now I was able to look for these things. So he talks about how much he loves money, but he refers to it as green, which think about it. He slips an envelope under Walter's door to get him to come and audition for the Muppets, and the envelope is also green. And at one point, a fly lands on his face and he eats it. And I think, like, at the time, you're supposed to think, like, oh, he's so evil. He's eaten a fly, but it's like, no, it's Kermit. He ate a fly. He's a frog.
That didn't. I genuinely didn't even think of that until you just said it.
M. Night Shyamalan. It's the greatest twist in movie history.
All right, I'm starting to get a little bit, like, tiny bit on board with the twist.
Okay, I'll take a tiny bit. That works. That works for me.
Look, I think that's everything I've had written down.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a fascinating thing. How much the greatest Muppet movie of all time, with 3 exclamation points, by the way, differs from The Muppets 2011 parentheses, because that's such a terrible generic title. I'm glad we both got to read this thing and kind of share these thoughts, because it's equally fascinating to see what stayed and what changed. Like you said at the beginning, like it's fascinating. It's like it's so different and it's so the same at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's got that same feeling to it, but in an entirely different way.
Yes.
But it's
yes,
like, yeah, I don't know where you can find the script because I got it from a source I won't mention. It was Joe. Blame Joe.
Yeah. I wrote it myself. I am the source. Sucker.
Really? You've got some terrible plot holes in here.
How awful would that be? What a terrible prank that would be. That I wrote a 95-page script just to convince you, but I kept some things the same just to make it a little more realistic.
I wouldn't put it past you. I've seen some of your April Fool's Day things you guys have done. You've gotten me with a couple of them, so I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it is November, so
That's real.
No April Fool's this time.
Happy birthday, the Muppets.
Yes, happy birthday.
And while
you're 5 today.
You're 5 today. While you definitely have your issues, not as many issues as this has.
Yeah, so you made for a great movie and a pretty okay script. So well done. That's a success. That's improvement, is what we call that. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope we didn't bore you. I hope you've learned a few things here today. If you want to read more about Muppet stuff, you could check out my website. That's toughpigs.com. Jarrod?
And if you want to read other Muppet stuff, you can go to muppetcast.com. Sorry, I was meant to advertise my own then, wasn't I? That's muppetmindset.com.
Right. I'm sure Steve Swanson is very happy that you just plugged the Muppet Cast for him. But he's not on this video. He wasn't invited.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much for staying up so late. It's very late.
It is very, very late. Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for watching. Go watch the Muppets today because it's their anniversary. That's a nice thing to do. I'm sure the Muppets would appreciate it. And keep on reading.
America.
Yes, thumbs up for America. I didn't hear what you said. Goodbye, everyone.
I said Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.